part of being a leader is understanding that you don't know the right way every time, particularly as you grow into different roles. It's important to make sure that you stay close to the people that are in your restaurants because a lot of times um, the way that you think is the right way to do things may not be the easiest way to do things, or you find that people in a restaurant are doing things in a different way that saves them a lot of time.
Everyone eats out, but people often miss how the food arrives on their plate. Every meal has a story of growers, suppliers, founders, and operators making it all happen. Welcome to Grounded. I'm Lauren Mitchell, and each week I will bring you conversation with the amazing people behind the brands you know and the ones you'll want to know. Grounded is powered by the Buyer's Edge platform, the leading food service digital procurement network, powered by data, software, and collaborative relationships. Let's get grounded. Oh, I'm very excited for today's guest. She is a hospitality leader, operations strategist, and dedicated mentor. She's held executive roles at standout brands like Protein Bar and Kitchen and Roti, Modern Mediterranean, among many others. She's overseen a team of 2,200 and led operational initiatives that increase profitability for former crave-worthy brands. Currently, Vice President of Operations and Training at Pancheros, Lori Cominsky. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. The brand Pancheros, I have to say, I was in Illinois, actually, I think it was probably 3 years ago now. I was in town for a running race and I drove by and my husband pointed it out because he's accustomed to looking out for brands with me. And I'd never seen it before and it looked delicious, even from the build out. It looked enticing in terms of fresh Mexican flavor. People were sitting outside in the patio and I was like, what is that? It caught my eye. We went in, had a delicious meal, and then wound up coming back to our town. And lo and behold, next to our kiddos' hockey rink is Pancheros. So where do we go all the time now? There. It's just funny how sometimes this happens when you're out of town and you've got, your eye up and out, and then you come home and now it's part of your regular routine. So that's my Pancheros story.
Oh, well, that's awesome. I actually first ran across a Pancheros too in Peoria, Illinois, while I was working for a different brand, and while we were opening a restaurant, and they were right next door, and so we would eat there several times a week. So it was I had a really great story to tell Pancheros when I was meeting with them to decide whether or not this was a good fit, because I already loved their food. So it was pretty funny.
Yes. So let's talk about that. Why don't we start there with the food? So for those who might not be aware, how many locations nationally currently and what can one expect when walking into a Pancheros?
Sure. Well, we've been around since 1992. We opened our first location in downtown Iowa City. We are a fast casual Mexican restaurant. So we pride ourselves on fresh pressed, fresh made tortillas. And our queso is standout. I'm a little obsessed. And we have 76 locations, 25 are company operated, and then the other 51 are franchise. We are mostly in the Midwest, although we do have quite a presence on the East Coast, and a couple dotted in the towards the South over the last few years.
Excellent. So you mentioned the fresh pressed tortillas. I was going to go there as well. The queso, delicious. It is a competitive category. So in your opinion, and having been with other brands, what sets Pancheros apart outside of those two ingredients? Perhaps it's just the culture or the values.
Yeah, well, I think, we do provide a really great value, definitely. We are really great value for the money in the fast casual segment. The fact that we make our tortillas fresh every day and press them to order, I really think adds so much value. And at first, when I first joined, I really couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, that's really can be very stressful, to make dough every day. And we've sort of gotten it to a point where it's really easy and the team feels confident doing it, and it makes such a difference. That in our queso, we sell. I was just flabbergasted by the amount of queso that we sell, and that our attachment rate is so high. But then you try it, and it's like, yeah, I understand, I get it. It's worth every penny, and but you really feel like you're getting a value for your dollar.
Yeah, you guys really are the whole package. I mean, going on your website, you can see not only from the menu offerings, the kids' meal offerings, the loyalty programs, you've got it all. I haven't spoken with someone who's quite had training such a prominent part of their role, and would love for you to share a couple of key items that you're supporting the brand with when it comes to training. And I imagine that comes involved a lot with the franchise side of the business, right? And that's such a majority part of the group.
Sure. Yeah. So, I've been lucky enough to be involved in training in some aspect or another at Roti first, where I started with them and at only 4 locations and helped them grow to 48. So I was really lucky to be able to be in a various amount of roles and help build out that training program. So I was able to take those learnings and bring that to protein bar as well. Um, bring them into a digital age, which we originally did with Roti, and then did that with protein bar, and then with Craveworthy as well, and then most recently with Pancheros, which had 30 plus years of um, institutional knowledge, but all on paper and all in different spots. And so, and just depending on how long people had been with the company or had owned a Pancheros would sort of depend on how you ran your business. And so, sort of bringing all that together, understanding what was the right way to do things, and then bringing it all into one place, and making sure that we were able to sort of reset and get everyone to do things the same way, the right way, was sort of the first 16 to 18 months of my time here, and bring it all into a digital format as well.
So I imagine it's tough to balance, but important, the operational consistency in training, but with encouraging individual personality and especially flair, like in guest interactions. Do you have any strategies that you've employed to support, again, kind of pulling out that, individual customization of the guest experience, but also, again, operational consistency and how you've balanced the two?
Yeah, I think part of the success that we've had comes from not just mandating, this is all just watching videos the entire time, right? People don't learn that way anymore. So having like little micro learnings where we talk about like the operational standards of how to create the food the correct way, and the standards that you have to stick by, and then adding a personal touch by having okay, so now you're going to go and work on the line for 45 minutes with your trainer, and they're going to tick these boxes for you and sort of personalize it a little bit more. So we don't have a lot of robots. You can sort of have your own personality embedded into it, is how we found success. So while the training program itself might be pretty extensive, a lot of it is on the job sort of training to keep people up out of their chairs and learning and doing instead of just watching a video.
You said something interesting there, and that's people don't learn well in that way anymore. And that's, I mean, it's so important to be focused on the generation that you're training and understanding how they're changing. And we work with a lot of restaurants that have been around for decades, and they've had to kind of adapt through each decade to the different generations of labor that are coming in, but also the guests that are coming in. Have you received feedback from any of your employees, or perhaps from your own experience, of how something was done a different way, and then kind of set that into practice at Pancheros based on your time there?
Well, sure. I think, part of being a leader is understanding that you don't know the right way every time, particularly as you grow into different roles. It's important to make sure that you stay close to the people that are in your restaurants, because a lot of times the way that you think is the right way to do things may not be the easiest way to do things, or you find that people in a restaurant are doing things in a different way that saves them a lot of time. taking the time and energy to touch base with the people that are actually working in the restaurants every day teaches you a ton about like maybe they figured out a way to do it better. And just because, we've done it that way forever doesn't mean that it was the best way to make it happen. So I think part of being, building the bridge between operations and training is understanding that, the people in the restaurants sometimes know the best. So it's important to listen.
Yeah, actually, a perfect segue with people in the restaurants and that feedback is, can you describe how Pancheros puts in menu change or drives new item or innovation into the menu? What kind of filters do you guys put those decisions through? I know culinary is probably a big part of that, but for every brand, the process is a little bit different. Some of it moves quickly, some of it slowly, some of it based on seasons. Talk to us a little bit just about the strategy with menu innovation.
We're very big on simple here, but we do some LTOs. We also wear a lot of hats, so we don't actually have a dedicated culinary department. Myself, we have a VP of franchise here and a couple of other folks with marketing and some of our operational people sort of brainstorm and include our vendor partners sometimes in that as well. Like they'll bring some things to us about things that are trending, and if we can figure out a way to make that work, then we sort of work in that direction. But we limit it to 3 or 4 LTOs at a time per year, and want to make sure that it's again simple, easy to execute, not a ton of moving parts, because throughput is really important to us, and ease of execution. Those things are paramount to making sure that we continue to give a really great customer service experience and a quick service experience while also providing both value and delicious food. So we have to tick all the boxes, but there's, like I said, there's not a ton of us. So we try to make sure we do it right instead of doing a lot of it.
Yeah, and ask your suppliers. I love that. They have a lot of tentacles out to what's going on in the industry, but also just the product that just rides along with that trend. They're great partners to ask. And being big on simple is great too. I think you guys know exactly your worth and your value, and you're strong, very strong regionally. So I think that's a great foundation. Very cool.
Thank you.
You're involved in more than Pancheros, so and part of this might backtrack a little bit. I have heard that you've been a part of Prosper, and I've got some colleagues that are joining as well. For those that aren't familiar, can you just talk a little bit about what that organization serves to support and kind of what you've gained as a result of having gone through the program?
Sure, absolutely. So in 2023, I was lucky enough to be asked to be part of the Prosper Accelerators, which was the inaugural group for a group of 100 people from the restaurant industry or the hospitality industry that were invited for a 3-day long conference for people that were looking to move up to the next level, to sort of level up soft skills, collaborate with each other, and see how some folks that have already made the jump to C-level position can help those that are looking to move up as well to get to the next level. So I was involved in that in 2023. And when I was there, I ran into Sherry Mixa, who happened to be talking to me in line, and she asked me about mentorship, and I hadn't really ever been involved in any sort of formal mentorship in any way, though I, had really worked hard on helping those that were around me get to the next level, but nothing ever really formal. And so Sherry gave me her card, and then I found myself with some extra time on my hands right around the end of the year, and so I called her up and I said, okay, so I'm gonna come join. Like, how can I help? And then, how can I help either mentor people or be a mentee or if you need help like writing script or whatever it is you need. So I was able to sort of spend some time then becoming a mentor and helping build that piece of the program through Prosper. And so still part of Gleam to this day. We've grown in a lot of different ways, but mostly the core piece of the Gleam Network is helping people find a mentor, or help someone who knows, who's been there, to find a mentee that they can help um, develop in a certain way or a certain skill, or even just network to help people get to the next level.
So hard to find time in our busy schedules, but if you happen to have the chance to do so and pursue something such as that, I know it's truly valuable, and love that you've done just that. How about any leadership insights from your Prosper mentors that you've woven directly into your restaurant training curriculum, or perhaps any other area of what you're doing over at Pancheros?
Sure. I mean, I think really so much of it is understanding that you deserve like what you deserve, and that you're at the table for a reason, right? And so being able to accept the help from others, being willing to just take the time and getting to know people. You just sometimes don't even realize how many people have either been in your shoes or are in your shoes right now. And like how much of a community there really is around the hospitality industry in general. So, if you don't know, there is someone who does know or can introduce you to the person that does know. And so that's a really big piece of what I've learned probably in the last 4 years within the restaurant industry. It's like how small it is and how everybody has the same problems.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And you never know until you ask. Gosh, that's so cool. And then you talked a little bit about Glean, and I've had Amy on who supports that as well. Can you provide any listeners that might want to learn more about that group to understand, what goal it serves and who perhaps would be a fit to join and be supported?
Sure. I mean, there's all different pieces of the Gleam network that are there to help. So the original Gleam idea was just like a 6-month mentor-mentee relationship where there's individual pairings based on what people are looking to accomplish, or maybe somebody that can just help them get to the next step or solve one really big problem. And so that's a 6-month commitment, but only once a month meeting sometimes, or whatever you decide with your mentor or mentee. It's a really fantastic experience. I highly recommend it. Then there is the lead, lead is to for people that are just more recently into a management position, to spend time with people who are C-level folks, but this is more in of a group, like a group setting, and they do some um, in-person visits and also some things online, where they interview a COO or a CEO and get some learnings from that. There's the CAP program, which is for folks who are looking to move from an hourly position into a managerial position, and teaches a lot of soft skills training and how to be a leader, how to move from being a friend of a friend in the restaurant to being the person that has to lead their friends. It's some really cool stuff there. That's like a virtual 8-week program that we at Pancheros have sent. We send 4 people each one of the cohorts. So we've sent, I think at this point, 12 people through in the last 9 months, and we've reaped a ton of benefits from that. From you know teaching people how to feel more confident, and getting them some other people that are in the same boat as they are on a weekly call, that where they can talk about things that maybe they don't have confidence in, or just having a sounding board of somebody that's in the same boat that they are, because they're looking to be a general manager, so they don't have a lot of insight into other people that maybe are in another state or completely different, in a completely different full service or something like that. And they have an opportunity to sort of meet those people and talk about what they have in common. And then there's also like the World program, which is the women in restaurant leadership piece, which is, women specific, women lifting each other up in the industry. Um, and so there's a spot for everyone somewhere
Yeah.
within those. You just got to say that I'm worth it and I'm gonna go get it. You know.
Follow-up question to the CAT program. You mentioned that Pancheros has sent 4 people through each cohort. I can imagine there's a multitude of brands out there that are hearing that. They gotta be so great to send some of my employees there, either to win a chance to go or to be voted or nominated by their peers to go. Does it cost anything for either the individual going through it or perhaps the restaurant who wants to roll it out for some of their folks? Or where can they find more on that program?
So the CAP program, I buy it for my hourly people to go through it through Pancheros.
Okay.
So it is more of a program that would be for businesses to send their people through. The
Yeah.
Gleam piece of things is more individualized, and it doesn't cost anything to be a mentor. And a mentee, I believe, is only like $75. And that's just for the cost of keeping the website going and making sure that we have just the little individual things that we need to come to different conferences and keep spreading the word.
Whirl, Lead, Gleam, Cat. We will include all the links in the show notes to those wonderful programs. Thank you for taking a couple minutes just to unpack those. I think, just like we've said, it hits a multitude of different layers and levels in the restaurant environment. And so great what you guys are doing out there to support education in this industry. So love it. Love it. Love it. Um, back out of there and getting back into a restaurant leadership and perhaps even just some of the challenges, if you can speak transparently, what would you say, and perhaps you've just covered it, there has been a leadership principle that has defined your work and perhaps, in your opinion, given you the success you've found today?
Sure. I thought a little bit about this, and we do have some values that we follow here at Pancheros, but one that's followed me, I think, throughout the time that since my first restaurant management job has been do the right thing. And it sort of then informs all of the other pieces of our values as well, but sort of like having the integrity to do the right thing when no one's looking, and taking the time to do things the right way, and teaching people the right way, when the shortcuts are sometimes the easier way to get things done, has been, I guess, a real guiding principle for me throughout the years.
Absolutely. Do the right thing and how that can be applied to every single process, back of the house, front of the house, C-suite. I love it. Great, great answer. How about the biggest operational challenge for either this brand or one that you've been with previously as they look to grow up nationally?
Oh gosh, well, there's so many to choose from. As we grow, I think, the having the bench strength, to know when to make the right decision to add folks on, and making sure that you're in the right position to grow, but not grow too fast and not stretching people too thin, has been something that I think has been a problem, or just is something that we've had to deal with since I've started in restaurants. Even more recently, the cost of building new restaurants has grown quite a bit, and it can be cost prohibitive in some cases. So finding the right partners to help you when you're building is also a really big deal nowadays.
I've had real estate brought up a couple times that answer as those that are eager to grow and ready to grow nationally and across state lines. They just have, huge costs with build outs now and all that's involved with real estate transactions. So very interesting that you brought that up as well. How about with your supply chain? And you mentioned that you guys were mini hats. So I might be digging into a lane that you're not quite fully in. But as far as you know and understand, how are you guys identifying possible risks? And maybe there's a partner that you have to support you with the visibility into that or lean on for insights in regards to that. But how do you keep your pulse on potential risks in your supply chain?
Yeah, so we don't have a supply chain person, so that is that I do spend an inordinate amount of time in that area. depending on the week. Like I said, we have a pretty consistent menu, and we try to keep things simple. So we don't have a ton of different items in our restaurants. We don't have freezers, so we don't have to worry about frozen items. So everything is fresh and either refrigerated or dry. And we make all of our own things fresh in house every day. So for the most part, we don't have a ton of proprietary things, but we do have some, and it can sometimes be an issue. We do have regular meetings both with our suppliers and our distributors to make sure um, that we're being a good partner, but also we're holding them accountable to be a good partner as well. And so that's worked pretty well for us. And having both conversations with both our suppliers and our distributors helps us catch a majority of the things before they become a really big thing. Um, and then being a good partner when things do happen usually means that we can come to some sort of resolution pretty quickly, since it's a partnership and not really an antagonistic vibe. It's a genuine partnership where we try to make sure that everybody's getting what they need, and the everybody's making money, and everybody's happy. So for the most part, it's been pretty seamless. We do spend a lot of time making sure that our franchises and our corporate restaurants have everything that they need at any given time, so that our guests can receive the great food that they deserve.
Yeah, keeping that open line of communication with distributors and supply partners. I had a previous guest on that had asked the question of their program manager on whether they scorecard those partners, and if they do, like what kind of metrics that they look at. And while they hadn't done it before, they started brainstorming together on what that scorecard would look like. And again, all developed by the customer or the client in terms of like what they wanted to be able to see to grade performance. But it was a two-way conversation. As you know, just as you've mentioned, you want to make sure you're being a good partner for your supplier, and making sure that you've got volume forecasting that they need at the right time. So it really just bloomed with this beautiful scorecard opportunity that prompted quarterly calls together to kind of review the business together. I love when clients come to us with, can you do this, or have you done this? And if it's a no, just diving into, okay, so what would that look like? And so I love that you have some conversations with your distributor partners and supplier partners, and I'm sure prompt some of these ideas too.
Absolutely. Yep.
Looking at the rest of the year and the next 2 or 3 with Pancheros, what excites you the most for the brand and working with the brand?
Our growth in the next 5 years is getting me very excited. We are at a really great spot, both in our corporate locations and in our franchise locations, to grow. We are a great company to partner with. Genuinely, really enjoy what I'm doing, and I think that our franchisees feel the same way. And I'm just really excited to see how quickly we're going to grow over the next few years.
It's fantastic. I am too. Like I said, you guys have a well-developed concept, great flavor food, and I'm very excited for the brand and to see where it grows. Speaking at the end of the show here, I like to ask kind of what I call final mile questions, where you answer with the first thought that comes to mind. I'm going to go a little bit different here as you're a female leader. Let's start here. What is your favorite productivity hack that saves you the most time as you approach the workday?
I've always felt like that it's always on my things that you wanted to do better has always been like time management. And throughout the years, I've always said I had to become better at using my digital things to become better at my time management. But at the end of the day, my lists are still what I live by. And it's no different than it was, 20 years ago. And but it's still the best way for me to stay. Like the last 5 minutes of my day is making sure that I've set myself up for the first few hours of my day, the next day, that I know what I have to do, and can knock things off of my list.
I love it. Moving your to-dos to das. And I'm a list maker too. So while I'm at certain conference and events, I've seen the digital where you're still having a pen in your hand and you're actually handwriting, but it's all in a digital format. So imagine it shoots you your notes in an email. I'm like, that could be my next step, but I'm still a pen to paper queen too. I love my list.
It's right here.
Ready to go.
Yeah, there's just something about physically marking it off your list that really makes it real.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This might be a tough one as you are so involved in mentorship but are you a mentee to someone who has been a mentor for you and in what way?
I think throughout my career, there's been many, and it just was in different phases. When I was an assistant manager, I had a general manager who really helped coach me to get me to the next to become a general manager. I had area directors that sort of taught me some soft skills and like prepped me to become a multi-unit person. I've had directors of operation um, that have pushed me to try different things that I were out of my lane. Um, and that put me in my, out of my comfort zone and some that have taught me to be like lean into the discomfort, to stretch yourself, to learn more. And so, throughout the course of my career, I could say that there's been probably 7 or 8 different ones that, most probably I never even called an actual mentor, but taught me so much and helped me so much that they definitely were mentors in my life.
Yeah, your answer sparked something with me. It's the people that encourage you to stretch outside your comfort zone. I mean, hugely valuable, but also the jobs and the roles that do so too. We've talked a little bit about it today in terms of wearing many hats. I've been grateful for some of the positions I've been placed in that do ask me to just learn something quickly in order to execute, just because there's really no one else that understands how to do it at that time. And I do love to be kind of launched into some of those arenas where, it's if it's to be, it's up to me. And those are pretty cool moments too that we get to experience in our careers. So
Totally. At the time, it's like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, oh, I got this. Just work my way through it. It's fine.
yeah, kind of like committing a Newburgh in college. Like, look at all that I just learned on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, last question before we talk about your favorite dish at Pancheros. How about something that you learned early on in your life that's now strangely relevant to what you're doing today?
One of the things that I always is just lead with kindness in everything that I do. So like treat others the way that you want to be treated. And that is true throughout your entire life, not just something when you're a child and you're trying to get along with people at school. But throughout all things, when you're working in the restaurants and like having a tough day, and you could tell the person across from you is having a tough day, to just like just be nice and just lean in and maybe make their day a little bit better. And like being kind to people never has a downside.
No, and being on the other side of that tone, I'm a worker bee. So if I get into a string of emails of help, do this, and you get a response back that's just so soaked in just calm and kindness, it really hits and it does stand out. So I think in such a relationship driven business, I love that answer, and I fully aligned. All right. So how about your favorite dish on the menu?
Okay, well, I'm just gonna go then with I try to eat a lot of salads if I can, but I get the burrito with rice, black beans, chicken and steak. Um, I will get sour cream, queso, cheese, and medium sauce, and then a side of chips and queso.
Yes. Fresh pressed tortilla burrito.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, where can people find you and perhaps learn more about programs that we've discussed today or just connect with you in general?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn under Lori Cominsky. You can find more about the Gleam Network on LinkedIn as well, either by going to my page or by going to the Gleam Network page. And if you click on there, you can find out more about how to join the next cohort of mentors or mentees and all of the other things that I spoke about today.
Lori, you have been so wonderful.
It's been great. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And to our audience, thank you for listening. This has been another great episode of Grounded. See you next time. That's a wrap on this episode of Grounded. We've covered a lot of ground as we explored what it really takes to run food service behind the scenes. For show notes, highlights, and our latest market insights, visit us at groundedonthepod.com. Grounded is powered by the Buyer's Edge platform, delivering smarter solutions, greater efficiency, and real savings through connected tech, powerful data, and industry expertise. For more information and to get a personal demo of the Buyer's Edge platform, email me at lauren.mitchell@producealliance.com. And if you liked what you heard, subscribe so you don't miss an episode.